So backers, definitely, it's a very significant part of any crowdfunding business model, the same as fundraisers. But of course, without backers, you can't really run a successful crowdfunding platform. So we did pretty much the same studies with fundraisers, and we asked similar questions, trying to see if there are any statistical information we can find out about categorizing them by age, by sex, by repeat versus one-time investors, and so forth. And we did found quite a lot of interesting numbers and charts and dependencies, correlations, which I'm sure you can read in the report and make your own opinion of. As I said, I'll just try to comment it from business perspective, for example. So here we can see that if we look at it by age, we see a big difference, especially for equity and non-investment, depending on the region. So for example, things in Eastern Europe are quite different compared to Western Europe when it comes to equity. I mean, the age of majority of investors. And that can be explained quite easily by looking at history and economical situation and economical education, because it means that the majority of equity investors in Eastern Europe, they are younger than in other parts. That means that they are probably more active in terms of building their own investment strategy rather than older people. We also see quite big difference between female and male, especially when it comes to investment models. So equity and lending, it's very different from non-investment, which includes donation and rewards. The high-level explanation is women are more socially active and they make decisions more emotionally. So it means that when it comes to donations, they are more active there. But when it comes to investment, equity and lending, it's more about building strategy rather than emotional decisions. And then male are more active there. Then repeat versus one-time backers. Again, there is a very big difference between equity lending, which are investment models, and non-investment. For non-investment, we see that the majority is really one-time investors or backers. And that again means that people probably make those decisions more emotionally, and they are not thinking about long-term strategy. So no one really builds their donation strategy. But when it comes to investment, they probably consider their investments as part of their building portfolio strategy. And from that perspective, one-time investment doesn't make a lot of sense. You need to build some consistency. We also tried to find correlation and prove or disprove some hypotheses, whether more repeat bakers mean higher volumes and vice versa. We do see some correlation. At the same time, I don't think it is very strong. If you look at it from business model perspective and you try to find the golden ratio or like the optimal ratio of repeated bakers and one-time investors, then you probably need to aim somewhere around 50, 60, 65%, which seems to be like the optimal number. We compared organizational and individual backers. I'm kind of pleased to see that individual private backers, they are still the majority. So it means that crowdfunding actually exists for people, not for organizations, which is like the whole idea of crowdfunding concept. This is interesting, foreign versus domestic, because if you look at the total picture, we can see that the majority of investors and backers are domestic, even in non-investment models where it is quite possible in many cases to support projects from other countries. It's interesting to see whether those numbers will change in the coming years, because with CSP and the whole purpose of the CSP to allow cross-border investments. So let's see how these numbers will be transformed in the next years. And we also looked at the average number of backers, and it's kind of one of the measures if you try to tell the size of the platform, like how many backers you have on your platform. For non-investment models, they report between 10 and 50K backers. And for investment models, this is less than 100 investors. So again, if you're running a platform, you want to run a platform, then this gives you some sort of insight, like what number of investors you need to target in your business model.